We're going to try that again because that was way lower than I wanted it to be.
Take two.
That's our cold open.
There we go.
Creativity in progress.
Hello and welcome to Creativity in Progress, where we talk about creativity in a podcast. My name is Nathan Beatty, and here with me I have...
Ethan Murphy, Nathan Beatty's friend.
And...
All right, Ethan's friend.
And...
Mick, everybody's friend.
There we go. Nice and diplomatic as always.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yes. How y'all doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Fantastic.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. This has been a day, but it's been a good day, I think.
Actually, my friend, it's been a year. But
yes,
it's been
it
a good
has.
Oh, a year and a day.
Yes.
A year and a day.
Yes, it
Almost
has.
math artist on my face. But yes.
No, I can't math. I don't know what that is.
Yes. But you were saying it's been a day. I assume you were alluding to something in particular.
Not really. Just, it was just one of those days that this was about the Mondayest Monday I've had in a while. Like it's but I always say that. So it's, at this point,
Mondays are just not great days.
Yeah, they're really not.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Garfield was right. Garfield's always right.
Yes. I just learned to accept it. So, but you mentioned that it has been a year, and it has been a year. It has. We have been doing this for a year now. Can you believe that?
I mean, I haven't, but you guys have, and that's amazing.
Yes.
So spiritually, you have.
Oh,
We had you. We had a little shrine to you in Nate's basement. So you've been part of the show since the beginning. Relax. It's purely inappropriate.
I was thinking more of like the devil on your shoulder, but you could make it really weird.
They both work. They both work.
Yes. Wow. Okay. None of that is true. Anyway, so
We're not editing any of that. All that stayed in. All that stayed right in there for the family.
In. I think we're trying to do every callback we possibly can. Like in this little intro. So what can we do? Golden Girls. There
we go.
Magic Gathering.
Of course.
Okay. Oh, Ethan, come on, give me something.
Anime. All kinds of anime.
Okay.
Logan Browning. Logan Browning. Kinsey Scales.
Oh my God.
Mick Van Winkle. Let's see what else there is. My best friend Susan. Clarence Thomas.
Yes, but we digress.
Go Juice. Just one more thing. One more thing.
Oh my Lord. It has been a year, but I got to say, I know we've been it's been quite mushy on recent episodes, but I will continue the mush fest and say that, it's just, this has been awesome. This has just been a lot of fun. And while, yes, Ari, you've only been with us for a couple of months. I can honestly say, and I know that Ethan and Mick agree, so I think I can speak for both of them, that the podcast just got a ton bit better when you joined on. So
yes.
So
yes.
That's going on my resume.
Yes.
Of course.
Makes things a ton bit better.
Yeah, ton bit better.
That's proper grammar too.
Thank you. That's very kind.
And
the numbers do show, as Nate showed us one time, that since Ari came on the show, they actually went up.
Yes.
People are like, wait a minute, they actually have a good voice on the show now. Let's listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
That's patently false, but thank you.
but he's right. He's 100% right. That even though you may not have been with us since we put your shrine up originally, having you on the show with your actual voice has definitely just made it that much more fun. Having your perspective on the show has made it that much more fun.
Thank you.
One of the best episodes Nate and I did before originally was the episode that we did about Captain Marvel, and one that him and I agreed why the episode worked so well is because we didn't see eye to eye on the movie. Mm-hmm. It caused a discussion. But most of the time, Nate and I do agree. But the beauty of you is that you are your opinions oftentimes do vary or are very insightful in a different way from ours. So having a wholly different perspective on things definitely makes for better conversations. So that's
Well, thank you. I'm happy to provide that different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
as loudly as I may provide it sometimes. So,
And that's fine. And you call us out on our bullshit, which I like.
Yes.
well, yeah, but you know, everybody has bullshit they need to be called out on, and that goes for you and me as well. So, you know,
Awesome.
And not so much Mick. Mick's bullshit can be uncalled on, but the rest
Mick
of us.
doesn't have any bullshit. Mick
Mick has
is
no bullshit.
flawless.
Yes, he really is. He's perfect. He's a daughter of man.
Thank you.
Oh boy.
Awesome.
Good times. Good times.
Okay. Well, enough about that wonderfulness of a year. But actually, before I do move on from that, I do want to thank the listeners. I know we've had we've had a lot of listeners who have stuck with us from the beginning. Hi, sister. Hi, brother. Hi, Beck. Hi, Kev. But you know, a lot of you have stuck in with us, and for the new listeners, you know, we really appreciate it. You know, it's just we love sharing our love of creativity, and we love that you love to listen to us share our creativity. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes, agreed.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And another person I know, obviously, my best friend Susan. She listens, or an already nice best friend Susan. She listens to the show every week. And then my partner and colorist on Slade and Ash, I know she listens every week too, since the very beginning as well. And my protege Casey listens every week too, trying to get tips or whatnot. So I know that these are people that I do know of in particular that listen every week, and so I just want to give them a shout out too. I think our buddy Ray Petrie from what's it called? Not Fabio. Is it Fabio's? It's Fabio's, right?
Fabio's, yeah.
Yeah, he listens pretty often, or at least pretty much every episode as well. So those ones that we know in particular, give them a quick shout out for being there for us.
Yes. And that reminds me, I need to go say hi to Robert Fabio's because I really want a cheesesteak. Anyway, so
Yeah, you do.
Priorities.
Right.
Yes. I'm really going to say hi, but I'm also going to get a cheesesteak while I'm there. I'm efficiency people.
Two birds, one stone, obviously.
Exactly.
Right.
So now that we've done all that, we are actually going to talk about today. I'm going to let Mick do the honors because he was really excited to be on today to chat about this.
Yes.
Well, this one's easy, and I think that social media has been buzzing about something that has come to Disney Plus, which is why most people have Disney Plus, The Mandalorian. And I think that's going to be tonight's topic, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to talk spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show, we might as well work for Disney. But if you haven't seen it yet, I mean, I think the approach to the spoilers, and I'll just roll into this because this is something that seems different to me with The Mandalorian, is like, spoilers be damned. We're going full steam on social media and we're going to spill everything about The Mandalorian. As opposed to when movies come out, everybody's pretty good about, don't spoil anything or you'll be like shut off and I'll unfriend you and all that. This seems to be different, but it's not a bad thing because I think it's going to have more people watching the show, which they should, because it is really cool.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree.
Also, people have the choice of turning off listening, stop listening. That's what that's called.
Syntax.
If they don't want to be spoiled. So this is your blanket warning. We're going to get into spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't listen.
Yes. So,
but we do appreciate you listening to us ramble for the first 10 or so minutes. And appreciate your download and whatnot too.
But stick around until now, but they don't have to stick around.
Yes. Well, they can pause and come back. But this is the official The Mandalorian Spoilerverse begins now. Okay, Baby Yoda, baby freaking Yoda.
You just jump right into the deep end with no bathing suit on. All right.
God, he's so cute. I wish I knew the species name because I know he's not Yoda. But
It's funny that. And I saw a thing that said, "What else are we going to call it other than Baby Yoda?" Otherwise, we would call it that baby, a baby creature of the same species as Yoda. Otherwise, it's just Baby Yoda. And everybody, I think that's a set thing. It's like now it has been labeled Baby Yoda and coming to a toy store near you.
Oh, yes.
Well, of course, destroying a toy store.
So much.
That'll be the Cabbage Patch doll of this year, or the Tickle Me Elmo. It'll be the one, the toy that every kid is going bananas for, or every adult, at that matter.
I would think every adult, because I don't know. Actually, or is the Mandalorian like? I think kids can watch it?
Yeah,
more or less.
Yeah.
There's not. Yeah, there's, I mean,
I had read something that Star Wars isn't for kids anymore. And I don't know if there's any truth to that. And I don't know many kids that are watching it. So I'm not sure. I know a lot of adults are talking about it. So I'm not sure.
Well, I know there's still Star Wars cartoon series.
Darker, but I think that kids are smart and dark shows aren't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job, particularly with they've course corrected, because essentially the original movies were for kids, obviously. The prequels were also for kids. Like, George Lucas kind of worked very hard despite all of the Trade Federation talk. Yes, kids love political intrigue. But
when I was a kid, I only cared about Amidala and Duel of the Fates. I didn't give a shit about the politics. I didn't understand it.
No one did, especially George, who wrote it.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But now you go to the Mandalorian, and I think we're really, what you're talking about right now is why those other movies maybe didn't really work, because I think they were trying to get too deep into things that we didn't really care about. And I really think the Mandalorian is doing a couple of things, more than a couple of things, but I think the main things that I'm noticing in that is that it's making it fun and it's making it simple. And the characters are what's more important than the story, because really there's not a whole lot of backstory other than bounty hunter meets cute little baby Yoda and cool characters along the way, like and I don't know if they mentioned the name of the Ognat who helps.
No, his official name has not been given. He's just known as the Ugnaught, or Nick Nolte.
Cool character, right?
Yeah, Nick Nolte.
I have spoken, really, just like they have created just simple, cool characters that you just, and the Jawas. How fun are they? Is like everybody's seen episode 2, right? It was so fun.
We got to see inside a Jawa culture for like 5 seconds, and
it was a real culture. It felt real.
Yeah, it felt real.
And it didn't seem pushed, and it didn't seem, and it was easy. It was like, this is the Star Wars, and a lot of people are talking about it. And it's like, and so am I. I'm like, this is the Star Wars that we really needed many years ago from the original trilogy. That's not pushed. That's fun. And there's not a whole lot to it. Really, there's just neat characters and neat worlds that we're going to explore with the main characters. And it's cool.
It feels incredibly like original trilogy. Like it immediately immersed me back into the world without telling me anything, which I thought was really nice, because we're in like show don't tell territory. This show assumes that you have some passing knowledge of Star Wars, but even if you don't, it's completely watchable.
Even if you have no idea at all, if you just sit down and start watching this show, if you just landed on here from Mars, have no idea what TV even is, and start watching, it's like, okay, this is a world. I'm watching a show. You don't need to know anything else. I guess we can go ahead and go back to the very beginning, essentially, of the start from this more or less start from the beginning, go on from there. In episode 1 of this series, I love how the very first line that the Mandalorian even says is, "You can go warm or you can go cold," and he has his hand on his gun. And I love that that's pretty much, that establishes his ethos right from the beginning. That establishes the character, establishes his way of doing business. It's that simple, and I love it.
I love how this is probably unintended, but even if someone said, "Yeah, sure, I'll go warm," you're going to go cold anyway because you're going to get frozen.
Yes, it's true. It's true. But I have to wonder though, because that was Horatio Sands that played that. Was it a blur gun? I can't remember what the species was. But I wonder if he hadn't gotten up and wasn't like seemingly looking around for a weapon, a way to kind of possibly escape, if he would have thrown him into that carbonite little space storage area, or if the character just set up in the cockpit with him the whole time, we've let him just go that way instead. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, though I will say I am pissed that Brian Posehn was killed. I was really annoyed. I was like, I want to see more of him.
Yes, and he was getting brutal. Here's the best part: was Brian Posehn kept saying over and over again. For those who don't know, Brian Posehn was a character that was in the little speeder that took
He was
the
the speeder
Mandalorian across the ice. He was a speeder driver, and he kept saying, at least I think 3 times, he said, "Stay off the ice. The ice is really dangerous over here. Stay off the ice. What do you do? And stay off the ice. It's dangerous." And he's the one that gets killed on the ice.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I was angry about Taika Waititi getting killed.
Yeah.
I think he's coming back though. I'm pretty sure he'll come back in some capacity. Somehow.
Better come back. One of the best
I know.
characters from the first episode. Like, we want to see more of that because, yeah, that was
Absolutely.
really cool.
I love that droid.
Yeah, well, IG-11, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
IG-11.
Yep.
Yes.
And and this is something that they're able to do. Like, I know it's harder in the Star Wars universe because the droids tend to have very like, you've got R2D2, you've got BB-8, these droids that like have their own personalities, so therefore they're a singular character. But I could see them, like, they may not bring IG-11 back, but they might bring IG-12, and get Taika
exactly. That's what I
Waititi
thought
there.
they do. Yeah.
That's an idea.
Like his consciousness, or like a chip for his brain, is passed on to the next one.
Exactly,
and it may even
something like that.
remember the Mandalorian, or may actually track him down, because as it's established in the beginning of the second episode, because basically this is like Lone Wolf and Cub. This story, if you guys know what Lone Wolf and Cub is, this is basically the Lone Wolf and Cub. And so from here on out, it seems like the Mandalorian's gonna be tracked down and chased by every other bounty hunter out there. At the very beginning of the episode, you see, like, I think it's 2 or 3 of the like Bosk type aliens that are trying to they're trying to kill him and get the kid. So now he probably has a bullseye on his back. I could easily see the IG-11 or IG-12 or IG-13 coming back from again to kill this kid and get the reward. So it's I would be disappointed if we don't in some capacity get a Taika Waititi coming back.
I hope he does. And I find it great and or hilarious that some of the best characters we've had in the Star Wars franchise are droids recently.
Yeah.
God.
K2SO.
Great. K2. Anyway. Take a moment of sadness.
Or K2SO.
K2SO, yeah. Yeah, and BB-8's a great one too. And I get the idea that some people say that.
So here's hoping.
Yes. And some people say that Star Wars isn't as kid friendly as it once was, and that's fair, because you're dealing with, like, in Rogue One, you're dealing with, like, obviously it's meant to be more of a war, and all the characters die. There's a part at the end where Darth Vader, it literally turns like a horror movie when Darth Vader is cutting through all the rebels and they have no chance whatsoever of touching him. So yeah, that can be pretty extreme. But at the same time, we are getting more friendly droids or toy friendly droids that you could have, the K2SO or BB-8s or this Baby Yoda. So there's still elements that kids can really latch on to in these shows too.
Wasn't Rogue One rated like PG-13?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that, like, if anybody says that Star Wars isn't for kids anymore, they're just trying to start a fight, because it's Star Wars is for whoever. They're depending on the level of maturity you want. Star Wars pretty much has it now, and that's the beauty, right, I think, of stuff like the Mandalorian. Is the fact that it's accessible, and it's got a little violence, but I'd let Nugget watch this. Sure. I don't think she'd be. In fact, I'd probably let French Fry watch it too. It's not. I think it's accessible to a lot of folks, and I just enjoyed it. I just loved it. I thought both episodes were awesome. So sorry. Back to the episode.
Sorry. Absolutely.
On this tangent. So good. I was hesitant at first about the acting from someone whose face covered, but Pedro Pascal is just killing it, man. His body language and his voice gives so much personality to the character. We don't have to see his face. And I'm just very impressed.
And did you ever notice there are a couple of moments where there's a close-up of his face, but that we can't see. Yeah. And it works. Yeah. It's like, that was pretty cool. They zoomed in on the Mandalorian helmet and we get it.
Yes.
It was like, yes, it works.
one of my favorite things about that too is the part at the end of the first episode when it's the Mandalorian helmet talking to IG-11. Neither of them have faces or face expressions, and we can completely tell what's happening between them, like a full-blown buddy cop picture. And, you guys know how much I love buddy cop movies and things like that. So it's I love the idea that even without actual faces, we get their emotions coming across in a way. So that's beautiful.
I think that's a great credit to Favreau and the cinematographer too, because the body language gets it to a certain level, but also just like, because some of the shots are literally of just his helmet. Like, it's just of his helmet. He's not moving. He's not doing anything. Like, and if anything, the only action you're seeing in the scene is reflections off the helmet. So, so I think like it's really interesting that the acting is being pumped up so much by the cinematography and directing in addition. I just find that very interesting. I'm sorry, Mick, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, as I was going to say, I was going to add on that we're seeing, right off the bat, we're seeing that the Mandalorian has many weaknesses. He's not coming in as this. And I know the story, it was designed kind of as the old Western serials with a man with no name and kind of this dark character but the difference is that we've already seen that he's got his butt kicked more than a few times and is kind of making it up as he goes, and with a little help from the aliens and creatures that he meets and droids.
Yes.
That and that's what makes it exciting, because I thought that for a minute that the Nick Nolte character, the Ognaut, was going to go with him and be his sidekick, and it's like, no, I'm going to stay here and thank you for making my life better and good luck, and then he's off to space, and it's like, what's next? And I think from looking at the trailer, it's like we're going to see a lot of really cool characters in this series, and this is we're only 2 episodes into it, so this is pretty exciting stuff.
Well, that's what I want to touch on real quick. You can say something. I'm sorry, or if you want to.
No, I was just going to mention that I agree and that I love the pacing so much, because it just seems so well done. And you go ahead, Ethan.
I also want to say was just to piggyback off what Mick was saying was the idea that I love the fact that the character isn't some untouchable stoic 80s action hero, that he is extremely vulnerable. The way it opens with very much like The Man with No Name or Blondie from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, that Ennio Morricone, Sergio Leone type of archetype. However, the best part about it is that he is very vulnerable. He loses some fights. He gets beat up, he gets covered in mud and those kind of things. He barely gets by scraping by. And that gives him so much more personality. And then also you see that he actually is vulnerable and wounded. There's a flashback where it shows when he gets the Beskar armor, the Beskar piece of metal. He takes it to another Mandalorian, a Mandalorian type of a hierarch, a queen of some kind, and she basically forges it into a shoulder piece of armor for him. And you see his past as he reflects on his past, more or less. He's actually has some severe trauma that happened to him when he was a kid. He talks about being a foundling and everything else. And one last thing, as Mick would always say, one last thing about the character is that he's not trying to be a one-man band out there. He's come to rely on himself, yes, but if there's opportunity to team up with somebody, he'll do it. With IG-11, he proposed the idea of let's team up together, split it in half, and go about our ways. And even after they established that he doesn't like working with droids because of various reasons or whatnot, he's still willing to work with this droid. And as the droid gets wounded or gets hit in the little scuffle that they have with all these other all these other people on this in this wasteland, essentially, he helps the droid up, asks me if he's okay, and they go inside together as a team, essentially. And of course, as he established, he wanted to work with the Ugnaught as well. So he's not trying to be I don't need anybody else. I'm best by myself. I'm a hero. He's like, no, he's very much aware of the fact that he stands a better chance of getting his job done with a partner, and which is beautifully surprising.
And I wanted to piggyback off that because I really liked what they did. They did the classic 3 thing where he goes to the planet, he meets this guy. You kind of think like, oh, he's going to team up with him and this is going to be the sidekick character. And then he's like, no, okay, yeah, you go get the people, you go get your thing. I'm going to chill in my place. And then he goes down there and then he meets IG-11. And then you're thinking, oh, well, I guess he's going to team up with him and it's going to be this thing. And then they finish with that because that's exactly what I thought with both of those two. And then Baby Yoda, and it's like, oh well, I guess he's going to be with Baby Yoda then, and it was the third, that they got, and then they kind of hinted that maybe that other guy was going to go with him again in episode 2, but then they put a lid on that and they said no, like you might see him later, but he's not going to be. But I really liked how they did that, how they were like, yeah, we're introducing this character that is going to be a long running nope. And I liked how they did that a couple of times, and then they're like, Baby Yoda,
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was the I guess the moral of the overall moral of these episodes was surprises. You won't be able to see necessarily where these surprises are coming from, what they'll be, but they will consistently surprise you. The end, I wish I could have seen a live reaction of all three of your faces, because I believe I saw it before any of the rest of you. I wish I could have seen your faces as you saw that Baby Yoda pop up. Because it was just like, I lost my mind. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because it looks brutally, I haven't seen anything that adorable, maybe since Nate when he smiles. So it's just because actually you can tell they went all old school as far as that's actual puppet. It's not CGI. It actually is a real puppet. And the way he moves the blanket down, he has his big brown eyes. Like that's adorable. It's painfully adorable. And then he's eating a frog in the second episode. He's walking around doing little stuff. Like this is a fantastic idea.
I was calling it the green Mogwai.
Yes, exactly. He's a Mogwai.
And it's genius. I think they definitely play off each other. They being the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, as far as you could see how much they've interacted and have understood each other without Baby Yoda doesn't say anything. So it's like, but Baby Yoda, he or she gets what the Mandalorian is doing. Like, it's not just a bounty thing. He's protecting me. So now I'm going to try to help him. And it's really cute to see those of us that know that whatever species Yoda was coming up to it. He had a wound on his arm, right? And putting the hand out there like to heal him, and he's like putting him back in the little cradle, and then it just so works. I mean, this is so well contrived. It's incredible.
Yeah,
it made my withered heart just go doki doki.
It's so well done. They know what they're doing.
Of course they do. Of course they do. And the thing was, it was no one was like, I'm pretty sure no one was like, oh, that's too much. That's too big of a leap that this 50-year-old Baby Yoda thing can use the Force. It's like, no, within the context of this world, if you are a Force-sensitive child, they established that in The Last Jedi, if you're a Force-sensitive child, which he pretty much is, you can use the Force as you see fit from whatever age need be. So it's
50 years, like, given the species ages so slowly, he's had 50 years as a child to familiarize himself or herself with the Force.
Right.
Well, and also
it makes you wonder if.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I was just
going to say it makes you wonder where. No, you go. Here we go.
I'm enjoying every second of this.
It's like Nathan, that thing where you're walking down the hallway and everybody you keep juking to the same side.
Yes,
it's like,
exactly. Like, I would have left.
Okay. Shall we dance?
Let's dance. Shall we dance?
Mick, you are the guest. You go.
No, I was just going to say, I can't believe that these. How many episodes is the first season supposed to be? 8, I think.
I think it's 8 or 6. Yeah, it's an even number.
That it makes you wonder where, if they were only writing this, I say they, if Jon Favreau in his awesomeness designed this only as 8 episodes, that this doesn't escalate into something where it's like the last episode we're just going to be losing our minds, because we're already doing that now. And he's leading us towards something that I think there will obviously be more surprises, and I just can't wait to. And I think a lot of people, I mean, it's like, why didn't they just release them all at once? Everybody's no, we have to wait.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoy waiting. I actually like it a lot.
I do love, like, if I'll get an entire season dropped on me, I will binge watch it. But I also really enjoy, especially with shows like Star Wars, where you can really theorize. It's just very exciting, and I like watching it week by week.
Absolutely. Yeah. The thing is, too, is that it gives us something to talk about as like a water cooler type of show. When things are like like, for example, Stranger Things season 3 or other shows come out and the entire season comes out at once. But like you said, people either binge them all themselves or their friends watch one or two episodes, and then of course it kind of changes the conversation because you don't want to say everything to the person who hasn't seen everything and give away spoilers, so it kind of hinders you. But if we're all able to see just the same amount of content at the same time, we can have the same conversations and kind of like get really deep into certain things. It's kind of like a communal experience, and I love that idea.
Think they're going to have a cameo or surprises here where we're like blown away by something that happens because I know they've kind of done it with, I guess Rogue One kind of had Mon Mothra character. They had recurring characters that came back. They had some of the pilots that we've seen before. Do any of you think that we'll see a character or characters that we've seen before in the Star Wars universe?
Absolutely.
I think so. I mean, even if we don't see them, we might hear them mentioned because we've already got like stormtroopers. There's political unhappiness happening, and the rise of the First Order is all happening. So I'm pretty sure we'll see someone.
Yes, I think. I mean, we've already seen several Easter eggs, including the what are those characters called? The little guys that were at Jabba's palace that were this is pretty horrific scene. They're being cooked. Yeah,
Salacious Crumb, I believe, was the character.
I forgot
but they were being cooked and sold in the market as food.
Right, yeah, very much so. But the thing is, it seems like a no-brainer. They'll have other, like for example, this takes place. I think it's like 6 or 7 years after Return of the Jedi, after the Empire fell, more or less. So it's still around that time. So we probably won't see obviously Luke or Han or Leia, but we might see Jabba. He's a bounty hunter. Odds are he works in some capacity with Jabba, or we see some other bounty hunters like Bosk or other droids that we've seen that have come up, even like Greedo. It seemed like that was Greedo actually in that carbonite there too. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we will. And another thing too, one last thing, Dave Filoni, the guy who directed this, did this series, the Star Wars Rebels, for 5 seasons. And Star Wars Rebels had maybe the number one fan fave character, extended universe character now, which is Ahsoka Tano. I'm sorry, I can't. Ahsoka Tano. Yes. Sorry, that's a hard name to pronounce. I'm sorry about that. But so this is around the time period where she would be around now. She'd be grown. It makes sense if she just kind of popped up to do who knows what, just to buy a drink or something. So yeah, I imagine Dave Filoni with all his characters he made in that show and everything, that at least one of them will pop up in some capacity.
Well, also I noticed something. It was an Easter egg that I don't think people realized was there, because I have it set because I'm an old man and I can't understand things sometimes when people say them. So I usually have captions on, and just to make it easy. And also I was watching this in the middle of a restaurant, so it just made it even easier.
Really?
Yeah. And the language that the people were speaking in the first section of the first episode was Huttese, which is Jabba the Hutt's language. So I have a very strong feeling that we are going to be seeing Jabba the Hutt, or we're going to be seeing some of the Hutts at some point.
Yes. Yes.
Well, yes, I would agree with that. Also, isn't this story taking place on the Outer Rim in Hutt space mostly?
Oh yeah, like the Hutts own that. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a fall of the Empire, so things are kind of maybe more up in the air. But yeah, I imagine the Hutts do, in some capacity, have some kind of controlling.
Oh, and my God, even just, diving back into a children's favorite topic of politics, you have an empire fall like that, the power vacuum that is created, obviously a family like the Hutts are going to try to grab what scraps they can get out of that. So,
Right.
Just throwing that out there.
Well, another thing, too, is just alluding to Werner. I mean, we haven't mentioned yet Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog seems like a high-ranking middleman. He doesn't seem like the top dog. So I'm wondering who he works for. He might work for or work with some people, too. He might work with Jabba the Hutt himself or somebody else. So who knows what all is going on.
I was thinking that he was former Empire.
Yes, he does seem former. I mean, he has stormtroopers there, 2 anorexic stormtroopers with him, but he does seem he seems like someone who still answers to somebody himself.
Yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder if they're gonna roll in any of the expanded universe that's in books or in comics and that's kind of why I was asked the question about other characters, because they're not just within the cinematic universe, if you will. There's so many other characters that are in the expanded universe that they could introduce in this series very easily.
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely. What was? Sorry, go ahead, Ori.
Well, I'm wondering because they didn't they. I don't think they got rid of the expanded universe, but it's something like it's Legends now.
Yes, they're called Legends, but they can still introduce things in there. Like, for example, Admiral Thrawn, who was pretty much just from the Timothy Zahn books in extended canon. They brought him into canon in the Star Wars Rebels show. So now he's officially considered canon.
That's great.
So that's how they can do it. They can, if they're things from the Legends world, essentially, they can introduce them into a show or a movie, and then no longer, they're officially considered canon now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And also, like Sabine, if you guys ever saw Rebels, there's a character named Sabine who is also a Mandalorian who actually ends up by the first, like right before Episode 4, A New Hope, she ends up essentially being the leader of all the Mandalorians on that planet. So I imagine, and since Dave Filoni created that character, had her in the show, it would make a lot of sense for Sabine to show up in some capacity in this series as well. So I foresee a lot of cameos and more Easter eggs and that kind of stuff popping up in here.
But one thing that this show, like just these 2 episodes, one thing it has done is it has made me unreasonably excited for the Obi-Wan show that's coming out.
Of course.
Like Ewan McGregor in a show, like I realize Favreau isn't involved in that one, and Favreau has like his fingerprints are all over this Mandalorian thing. Like this thing is handled with loving care. And I really hope they do the same thing with the Obi-Wan show, but holy crap. Like if it's even half as good as this.
Yeah.
Take solace in the fact that it will never be as bad as the prequels.
Shade thrown as the shade was released from her hands into the prequel's face.
True. Very true.
Yes. 100% agree.
I'm like Salt Bae.
Like McDonald's fries, just salty, all salty. I love it. But you're right. I don't know who is working on the Obi-Wan show, but this seems the best possible way, like something that Nick and Ari or you, Nate and I would like a fan-made series in the best possible way. Like fans who love a show to pieces or a movie or whatnot to pieces and find a way to extend the universe with loving, like you said, love and respect, that have the talent to do it properly. Even little things too, like the humor works really, really well. Like the humor that was between IG-11 and Mandalorian in the first episode. IG-11 kept doing, I'm sure this was some type of influence, but the idea of him kept wanting to self-destruct. And he's like, no, don't self-destruct. He's like, give me. And at the very end, after he used the big, huge, like Gatling gun, blew everybody away. You see IG-11 sitting on the ground with his little detonator going to go off, and he goes, okay, kind of raises it back up so he won't blow up. But it's a perfect little button to a joke that was set up in a way. The part where it has where the Jawas call him, pretty much consider the Mandalorian like a Wookiee, like that he sounds like a Wookiee accent and whatnot, talking to them. These are jokes that work really, really well. And it's someone that the people that wrote and created this, Filoni and Favreau and everyone else, they clearly have such an understanding of the world, but are able to build on and expand it in a way that, only true loving fans would.
Yeah, I really like that moment in particular because it just in a very simple exchange, it completely expanded the world because you're like, oh, yeah, people who don't speak this language are going to sound like idiots.
Right. Right. Exactly. Well, I guess we could do one thing too is go through like our favorite parts or our favorite moments from the episodes, things that we obviously we have some big ones, but if there's something in particular that kind of stood out to you guys.
All of it.
Nice.
There's so many simple things that they've done to bring us back to the Star Wars universe, and I think that's just what it is. It's simple. It's not a lot of special effects and action. It's characters and worlds and interesting characters and interesting situations. The situations being what Star Wars originally was, where how am I going to get out of this is typically what the first Star Wars movie was, where one movie had all these little elements of situations where the hero or heroes get in a bind and they have to get their way out of it. in order to move forward. And I think that one of my simple favorites was from the second episode where the Mandalorian tries to speak to the Jawas. And they're like, and I think Ari kind of hit on it. It was like, yeah, your Jawa sounds like crap, or well, I don't remember what the line was.
Like Wookiee, yeah.
I'll have to watch. Yes, exactly. They say he sounds like a Wookiee. And it's just simple little things that give it not only credibility, but brings us back into that world of Star Wars that a lot of the other movies didn't really try to do. It seemed like they were trying to bedazzle us with special effects and things that, and then you looked at the dialogue in like the prequels, not to bash them a lot, but the idea, I know I read this where George Lucas was only going to go back to do the prequels when technology was up to a certain level to where he could get away with some of the scenes and effects and things. And I think maybe other things like storyline and characters kind of suffered for that. And I think now that we're looking at more of this isn't probably is a huge budget, but it doesn't look and feel like a huge budget effort. It feels more like a story that has been well developed and thought out, and this is Star Wars, and it's like, and I think that's why all of us Star Wars fans are like, whoa, like this is so great, but look at it, and it's not really. There's not a whole lot there if you really look at it for what it is. But it brings us back to what Star Wars, and I think you guys mentioned it earlier, where it brings us back to what Star Wars was when we first saw it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It brings us back to that feel and the look that we fell in love with the first time, as opposed to something that has been turned into, that has evolved into something more of a mass market kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Well, this story isn't. Well, it doesn't seem like a story that is like huge and expansive, and the fate of the world, the balance of the forces in jeopardy. It's just some guy who got saddled with a kid unexpectedly, is trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yes. Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's Star Wars. And I really like the simplicity of the story and the way that it treats its audience like we're not stupid. It trusts us. And that coupled with the cinematography and the callbacks to the original series, like the wipes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which I was just like, this is just so, I feel like a kid again watching A New Hope.
Yes.
And
Perfect.
I just really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I almost forgot about that. Good call. All right, with the web. Yeah.
For me, it was the I really liked the visual cues. Or you mentioned it earlier in the episode where they were like show don't tell, and they did that a lot in both of these episodes. And I think my favorite example of it was with the Baby Yoda. Every time, like after he got the got the baby and was kind of walking around with him, and things were happening, they would do a shot of the baby, and you would see, depending on what was happening, his ears would move. And you can, and you got the visual cue after a while. You got the visual cue when he's afraid or upset, the ears go down. If he's happy and fine and comfortable, the ears go up. And it gave you those visual cues, so that way when the more important stuff started happening at the end of the second episode, you were getting these visual cues of going like, oh, his ears are up and there's this monster coming, so what's going on? And then he does the force push. And it was like, I really liked how they did little things like that. And it's all throughout both of the episodes where they like do these little subtle things to kind of guide you unconsciously, so that way when you get to these really key emotional pieces later on within the story, you're right where they want you to be because they have prepped you for that. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah. It was almost like it was well written on purpose.
You think?
Yes. And my stuff is pretty much an amalgamation of all the things you guys mentioned. So I'll keep it very simple. It's just essentially, it is the characters and the relationship with each other. I realized somewhat recently that the single most important thing for me in a movie series or a book or a story of any kind is characters. I have to care about the characters in order to care about what I'm watching. With Harry Potter and that kind of, I'm not getting into Harry Potter again. I'm not doing that. But with Harry Potter, I know. With Harry Potter, I just the characters never resonated for me, and because of that, I couldn't get into the world as much. With this show, from the very beginning, I was in love with the character, the main character, Mandalorian, who's taking us on this adventure, this other, whether it be small or big, and I love his relationship from the very beginning with the baby Yoda, where the episode ends with them pointing fingers at each other, almost making the connection. And then the next episode it opens with the little, I love the his little astral stroller kind of wheeling, that's kind of floating behind him. And right as the action kicks off, the first thing the Mandalorian does, he doesn't go for his weapon first. The first thing he does is he pushes the stroller out of the way so they won't hurt him.
Yeah,
he does that kind of stuff a couple of times. And then it happens when he's fighting against that big horned like a space rhino type of creature. He does it again, where he uses his like the little control on his wrist to make sure that the kid gets yanked out of the way, so he doesn't get hurt by the beast. And I love when the Jawas steal all the parts from the ship, and you see the Mandalorian chasing after it. And you see the little baby Yoda in his little stroller just floating right behind him too. It's like I love seeing this their connection. It's just it works so well for me. And this is something that I realized after putting out multiple viewings, is that it does multiple. It shows reaction shots of the baby Yoda watching as the Mandalorian's fighting, pretty much showing that he's kind of like, some of the reasons he probably gets up is because in some capacity, maybe the Force is being worked through the Mandalorian by baby Yoda. Maybe he's actually helping him already from the very beginning in some capacity. Who knows why? And I love that the way it actually ends with that big huge rhino creature is that the rhino is getting ready to charge at the baby, and the Mandalorian is pretty much already has one foot in the grave trying to fight this guy. He gets up with a knife in his hand, and it's just him, right? All that stands between him and the rhino and the baby is the Mandalorian, who's pretty much just beat to crap already. But I love that he's pretty much willing to die trying to protect this kid that he doesn't even know. And that's the way they establish that relationship so well, so clearly, with so minimal dialogue on both their parts is just amazing to me.
Well, go ahead, Ari.
Okay. I liked how it was established when the Mandalorian went to go visit the other Mandalorian. It was established that he really cares for kids and that he's paying to make sure that they're taken care of.
Yes.
So that when he finally meets Baby Yoda, you're like, oh, yeah, of course he's going to want to protect this baby.
Yes.
And I feel like as we journey through the episodes, Baby Yoda is also getting that feeling, and that's why it is willing to protect the Mandalorian in turn.
Yes. Yeah. They both care for each other, essentially.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right that it was earned. His at the end with him shooting the IG-11, it didn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't like what the Mandalorian now cares about kids. It was like, no, it was. He mentioned like how they talk about how he has some of the best Beskar armors for the kids. It shows how he was saved when he was a foundling, quote unquote, and how he obviously would be that much more understanding and empathetic towards someone else, or sympathetic towards someone else in a similar situation. So yeah, it makes sense.
I also really liked the callback that they did to the Death Star, where that gigantic space rhino had a weakness, which is apparently a 3-inch knife to the side of the neck. Considering that thing was the size of an elephant, like that thing was massive.
Crazy.
It was.
I thought for a second that maybe he'd gotten it in the eye, and I was like, oh, it makes sense. But then,
no. So
my disbelief can only be suspended. So much.
Yeah, it was just like, seriously, like he hit it to the side of the neck with his knife, and I'm like, wait, it went down from that? Like I don't even think it got through its hide at that point. You know?
Yeah, we can survive that.
Seriously.
But that's, I mean, the Baby Yoda may have messed him up some too, because he raised him up off the ground pretty high and then kind of dropped him. He may have had a heart attack, and he's pretty much already done. And then the Mandalorian kind of just wanted to get some glory, so he shoved his nail file in him.
Just finishing him off. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, right on.
It was such a good show. Good show.
It
and
really
I can't wait to see more. Can't wait.
I want it so bad.
It's so great. Oh yeah. But we would be remiss if we didn't at least mention the music also, because I know for a fact that Ari's gonna buy me that soundtrack for Christmas. So the music was just, I love all the music. It was great.
Who composed?
I just saw
Ludwig
it. Yeah, I just saw it. Where did it go?
You know, some of it sounds very much like, and I don't think it's just me, kind of like the Rocky soundtrack. Anybody catch any of that kind of vibe going on with the show?
He actually composed the Rocky franchise, Creed and Creed 2.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm not crazy.
Nope.
Not John Evans. John Evans is the director. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ludwig Göransson. Yeah.
Ludwig Göransson. Yeah, Ludwig. That's it. Ludwig Göransson. That's amazing. I love it. I love it all.
He looks like a
And
Ludwig.
Sweet can compose some music. Love him.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, he did Black Panther
All right.
too. Oh, nice. Sorry if somebody already said that. But
It's also good music. Yeah.
yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that that wraps up our Spoilerverse, because we could go on for a really long time, but oh man,
could.
it was just so good. No, can't wait.
so good.
Can't wait. So,
Yes.
okay. So, before we let go, I think we're at the plugging section of the episode. So, Ari, is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, please refer to the entire episode you just listened to for the show that I would like to plug. It really is great. And yeah, that's all I've got.
Ethan?
Cool. Love it. Yes, I would like to plug. Let's see, what am I currently watching or listening to or reading? I'm trying to think. I'm currently watching. Have you guys seen the Before trilogy? Before Sunset, Before Sunrise.
Yes.
With Ethan Hawke?
Has.
Okay, Mick has. I actually had never seen it before, but then it was the structure of it, seemingly being so unorthodox, was recommended to me, and I finally watched the first one, Before Sunset, and it's a great. It is very much mainly just two characters that are having a conversation, but they're walking all over this town together.
That's basically all of them. Very good dialogue. Very well done.
That's what I want to understand. It's just that's the entire trilogy. It's just these same two characters walking around various cities, just having a conversation. It's not exactly in real time, but it's somewhat seemingly kind of in real-ish time. It's called Before Sunset because they have a conversation related to the night, and it ends, right before sunset, kind of thing. So if you yourself are a writer or a person that's interested in creative writing, seeing people just have a conversation that's so engaging that's all you need. It's a real exercise in how it's done, essentially, real object lesson in how they do it. So yeah, recommend that.
Cool. Mick.
I don't really have anything except for watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus or wherever you can get it, because it's the most pirated TV series of all time.
Of all time. Yes.
I'm really not bummed about that.
No,
I mean, I love
they're
Disney.
good.
Disney's
They're good.
great.
Well,
They have plenty of coin.
yes.
Nathan Beatty Jr. III. Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yes. Well, I'm going to make the FBI happy and say get Disney Plus. Because yeah, it's got a lot of great stuff. Like, we obviously got it because, it just having children and having a child walk up to you and say, I want to see Lion, and just being able to go, sure, beep, boop, there it is. And knowing that it's always going to be there, it's kind of awesome.
Very much so.
So yeah. And they have like amazing, like I was telling Mick before, when the first stuff I sat down and watched was I was in the middle of a restaurant. I sat down and I watched the first episode of the X-Men 90s cartoon. Then I watched the first episode of The Simpsons. Then I watched the first half of the episode of The Mandalorian, just right in a row. And, so it's got a lot of fun stuff. So if those things like Marvel and Star Wars and all that, and that are kind of your thing, which if you're listening to us, they probably are, you may want to check it out. And it's only $6 a month. Like, seriously, I would give up Netflix for this. So
It is a deal.
yes.
Good deal.
But also, there's other deals too. If you have Verizon or if you have other accounts, you can get bundled in there with it too. So there's ways to make it happen.
Yeah.
And they have a setup too where this is actually very FBI friendly. Disney is aware of the fact that people are going to share their code with other people, and they actually give you the option of having like 8 different viewers to have using the same network, essentially, same code, passwords, what have you. So they know that it's going to be shared and spread around because they want more people to see this stuff. So of course it catches on like wildfire and gets so much bigger.
Yeah.
So it's they know they have something good on their hands, and they know that people are going to it's going to catch on.
Yeah, they're going with the Dave Matthews Band way of doing it. They're like, yeah, sure. Pirate our stuff. We don't care. Because that means more people are going to listen to us and more people are probably going to buy our albums if that's the case. So,
yeah, there's no situation in which they don't win, to be honest. So.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And one last thing I had to always give one last thing, like I do. The first thing I watched on the network after I watched Mandalorian was actually Aladdin, the original animated Aladdin, which I hadn't seen in about I think, 15 years or so. And I was genuinely amazed and embarrassed at how good it was. I had forgotten because it's only 90 minutes long, and I'd forgotten just how well that story was told and structured and how beautiful animation, the music and songs were. And so it's one of those things where I know there's all kinds of nostalgia berries, but just seeing genuine movie magic still hold up all these years later is just a marvel. It really is.
Yeah, it's very well done. Yeah, love that movie. Anyway, okay. Any other one last things before I wrap this puppy up?
Nope, not for me.
I don't think so.
Cool.
Not from Mick. I have spoken.
Yes, there we go. Perfect. Perfect way. Well done, sir.
There it is. All righty. Well, you can find Ari on Twitter at @OrnaReed. You can find Ethan at echelonGnovels.com. You can find me at NathanBeattyVO.com. You can find more information about the podcast at echelonGnovels.com/CIP or our new website, www.thecipnetwork.com. You can call us at 434-481-1787 and leave us a voice message, and we will play it on the show. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitch. You can also support the podcast directly at thecipnetwork.com/support or go to Patreon and search for us. Our intro and outro music is the song Amigos by Platinum Butterfly, copyright 2015, licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. You can find more of their stuff at dig.ccmixter.org, featuring Clarence Simpson and Susan. As always, thank you so much. As always, thank you so much for listening. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Clarence Thomas.
Y'all okay?